and welcome back to another episode of Recreating Star Wars in Universe Sandbox 2. Now, today we're going to be talking about a system that not many people actually know because it is technically from the extended universe, but because this has also been recreated in various video games, it's very likely that it's going to become canon. And the system I'm talking about is called Dromund. Or is it Dromund? No, I'm pretty sure it's Dromund. Anyway, so what is Dromund? And specifically here, we're talking about a planet called Dromund Kaas. Well, this is actually one of the most important systems and planets in the Sith history. As a matter of fact, it has actually been the seat of a Sith Empire for many thousands of years. But unfortunately, in the time of the Star Wars movies, and here we're talking about the original trilogy and the trilogy afterwards and the trilogy that's coming up, in the Star Wars movies, this system has actually been kind of lost to time, essentially, and it is a system that is technically still inhabited by the Sith, but is not really as important anymore. But so let's actually try to find it. Where is it? So where is that lost system? So I haven't looked at the various maps I've discovered, and this is actually from Star Wars The Old Republic as well. I've discovered that it's actually a little bit to the side of Korriban, right here. So it's actually, we're going to make it from scratch. We're going to place a completely new star right here, and it's going to be a sun-like star because it is actually a sun-like star. And just a few light years away from Korriban, right about here, is our star called Dromund. And this is actually in the region of space called the Sith world. This is where Korriban is as well. And we've already talked about Korriban in one of the previous videos. So if you want to see, or if you want to learn more about the Sith, check out the Korriban video as well. And so here is Dromund, and it's orbiting around the central black hole in the center of the galaxy. Now, alright, so this is our star, and it's very sun-like, and it actually has 5 different planets orbiting around it. We don't really know much about 4 of them, but one of them is very important. And let's start with the first planet orbiting close to this star, and this is a planet that we're going to randomly generate as a random rocky planet. This is a planet called Dromund Kaas. And let's actually zoom in on Dromund Kaas just to see what it looks like. So this is an uninhabited planet. It's basically too close to the star to have any life on it. And it's obviously really, really hot and very, very, very unhospitable to any kind of life on this planet. So, alright, so this is the first planet, and it's going to be orbiting very close to Dromund. And the second planet here is actually a gas giant. So this is actually very surprising. So yes, there is a gas giant in this system. It's a little bit after Dromund Kaas. And I'm creating a random gas giant right here. This gas giant has a name of Dromund Kaas, and let's actually zoom in on it just to see what it looks like. So it's actually sort of in a location where Venus would be for us, and has 6 different moons orbiting around it. So we're going to generate 6 random moons orbiting around Dromund Kaas. And interestingly, well, actually one of them has a name, and the name of the 6th one is called Kalakar 6, which actually implies that the other 5 are called by numbers as well. And there we go. So we have 6 different moons. Now, the 6th one is actually kind of important, at least in the extended universe, and this is actually because there's a book that talks about how at some point there was a cult here that worshipped the Darkside, but it wasn't really the Sith, and they actually tricked Darth Vader to come to this planet, and they tried to basically destroy him by using a recreation of Darth Maul from Star Wars Episode 1. And so the recreation, or I guess the clone of Darth Maul, tried to defeat Darth Vader and almost succeeded. And the idea here was to basically try to re-establish Darth Maul as the main apprentice of Darth Sidious. And so this cult was basically worshipping Darth Maul, but unfortunately the Darth Maul clone lost, and following this, Darth Vader returned back to the Sith Empire, and Darth Sidious came back to this particular moon and basically punished the cult by destroying them. And so it's a pretty interesting story, but I'm not sure if it's actually going to be part of canon anymore, as Extended Universe has officially or unofficially been kind of cancelled out. But it's a pretty awesome sub-story or a side story that I think would be nice keeping in this particular system. So this is planet number 2, and planet number 3 is, of course, Dromund Kaas. Now this is actually one of the most, if not the most important planets for the Sith Empire, and essentially is the seat of their empire. This is where the Emperor used to live. And in games like the Old Republic games, you actually get to first hear about it, but in the Star Wars The Old Republic, the free MMORPG that you can actually try by yourself, you get to visit this planet, and at the end of this video I'll actually give you some sights from Dromund Kaas, because it's actually a pretty awesome world. So what we know about this is that it's a tropical world, it's a very dangerous and scary world filled with all kinds of scary creatures, and temperature here is a little bit higher than it would be on Earth. And this is what our tropical world is going to look like, and it actually surprisingly does have a purpley bluish sky, and I was actually very lucky to create a planet that had very purpley bluish skies as well. And you'll get to see what the surface actually looks like from Star Wars The Old Republic when we get to the end of the video. And so this planet for thousands of years actually had quite a lot of Sith living on it, and is essentially very sort of a dark force kind of a planet, where it's known to actually host a lot of dark force or dark side powers on it. So this is actually where you would want to go if you wanted to become the darkest of the Sith. Now it does have two moons around it. We're going to randomly generate random 2 moons. I'm not sure what their names are, unfortunately, but oh no, this is not good. It actually is orbiting a little bit too close to the to the planet. Let's make it a little bit farther away. There we go. So 2 moons around it. One is called Eris and one is called Asima, but these are randomly generated names because I actually could not, unfortunately, find out what their names really are. Now, because this planet is a little bit closer to the star than Earth is, it's obviously a little bit warmer. And here, the interesting thing about it is that because of the dark forces within the planet, the dark side forces, for some unknown reason, the atmosphere of this planet is always shrouded in storms, and there's a lot of lightning on the surface. And you can actually feel the dark side if you ever visit this planet in Star Wars The Old Republic. But we'll explore more of this planet when we get to the Star Wars The Old Republic near the end of the video. Now we have another planet here, and this is planet number 4. And this is actually kind of similar to our own Mars. And so this is another arid planet that is uninhabited and has 1 moon orbiting around it. And the planet is called Dromund Kaas, with a little moon orbiting around it called Ursu. This is a randomly generated name, as I don't really know the real name of this moon. So planet number 4, and the last planet, planet number 5, was called Dromund Kaas. And Dromund Kaas was also uninhabited and was a relatively cold, relatively dark place because it was relatively far from the star. And so that's essentially the 5 planets of Dromund system, and here you get to see them with their orbits as well. The most important planet is obviously Dromund Kaas, and Dromund Kaas is hopefully a planet that will not disappear from the Star Wars universe, because it is actually a really cool world, especially if you get to visit it in Star Wars The Old Republic. And around this planet, the Sith Emperor actually used to have a personal space station where he would actually reside on, and originally, this particular planet and this entire system was actually discovered by the Sith Empire something like 7,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. And another really interesting thing about this particular planet and the region of space is that it's actually located very close to a reddish-brown nebula called the Stygian Caldera. And because this nebula is visible from the planet and from this star system, it actually gives this entire system a kind of a brownish, reddish color, which kind of adds to the fact that this is a dark side planet and the dark side system, and this is where the Sith Empire resides. Anyway, so let's actually take a look at this planet from its surface using Star Wars The Old Republic and talk a little bit more about it.
Welcome to Dromund Kaas, where freedom goes to die, and legends are forced on the galaxy.
So we are now in Star Wars The Old Republic, where you actually get to explore this planet in quite a lot of detail, and you get to visit some really cool places, including the Imperial Palace and Dromund, not Dromund, but Kaas City, which is actually the main city on this planet, and it actually is a pretty cool location to visit. So as I basically run through the planet and show you some of the local life and also battle some of the local criminals, let's actually just look around the area, and I'm going to also talk a little bit about the history of the Sith Empire and just why this planet is so important. So this planet was officially discovered by the Sith Empire, and it was actually conquered by a Sith Lord called Tulak Horde, and he conquered the Dromund system, where he actually performed a ritual of Sith magic which turned the system a little bit different. So it was actually already looked different before he actually performed the Sith magic on the entire system. And that, of course, is to show you how powerful he was. However, this particular planet and actually the entire system was eventually lost to history because of something called Great Hyperspace War. But then this system was rediscovered, and actually not once but at least twice, and the remains of the shattered Sith civilization actually were restored just to be lost again later on. And eventually the Sith obviously settled on Korriban, but before Korriban, this is actually where their main seat of power was. And after about 2,000 years, and this was in year 2000 before the Battle of Yavin, this system was finally abandoned once again, and only the remains of Dark Force followers actually stayed here. And like I mentioned before, one of those followers were the so-called cult that tried to trick Darth Vader, and this cult was called Prophets of the Darkside. And so they actually stayed here for thousands of years, trying to basically recreate the Sith Empire the way they actually thought it should be. And later on, this particular planet became almost like a myth. As a matter of fact, many people thought that this is not a real planet, not a real system, and many of them actually thought that this was just a mythical or a legendary representation of the Sith Empire, but Master Yoda actually confirmed the existence of the system during the Clone Wars. And later on, during the Clone Wars, there was even a battle here between the Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. But unfortunately, since a lot of this information is actually part of the extended universe, it may no longer really apply to this amazing, beautiful system, and may actually just disappear into the annals of Star Wars mythology. But without really spoiling too much, all I wanted to do here is just to show you some of the views that this planet had to offer, and actually invite you to explore this by yourself. Star Wars The Old Republic is a free-to-play game, and you can definitely get to, I think it's actually a level 10 that you have to get to, and this would probably take you a few hours before you actually are required to visit this planet, because this is one of your main quests. It takes you here, and this is where the very evil Darth Barris resides, and actually a few other evil characters are all present on this planet, and there's quite a lot of really cool missions and a lot of really cool locales you get to visit as well. And anyway, that's all I really wanted to say about Dromund system and Dromund Kaas planet in general, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, check out some of the other Star Wars recreations I've made previously, and also check out some of the other Universe Sandbox 2 videos as well. And if you still haven't subscribed, consider subscribing, because there's a lot more Star Wars videos coming, and there's a lot more science, space, and math videos as well. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and don't forget to share it with people you think may enjoy watching something about Star Wars or space in general. And once again, thank you so much for watching. Game you later, see you in the next video, and as always, bye bye.
Wow, nice lights. Walk in here, you get an instant headache.